My wife said she wanted a greenhouse, so I looked around online a little bit and found one that we liked and ordered it, and here it is. The entire thing is contained within these two boxes. And I just happened to be outside working on a related project the other day when this was delivered. So here's how that looked. That's two boxes, right?
Yes, sir.
If I remember.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that must be the plexiglass. That's a greenhouse.
Is it for me? You have a good one.
All right, appreciate it, man. And there's your greenhouse. And according to the shipping information, the entire thing, the whole greenhouse, only weighs 88 pounds. I want to check that out before I open these boxes. I have this old bathroom scale down here in the garage, and this should be close enough. We'll start with this box, which is by far the heavier of the two, and I'm sure this is the frame. All right, I'm going to call that about 56 pounds. Okay, let's check this one. I'm sure this is the acrylic panels. And I'm going to call that about 35 pounds. 56 and 35 is 91. So the whole thing weighs about 91 pounds. Now, let's open these boxes and see what we got. Oh, wait a minute, not this side, let's see. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh yeah. Yep, so here are the polycarbonate panels. You see they have this protective film on them. Okay, very good. They seem to be well packaged and there's no apparent damage. Good news. There we go. Oh, and I did want to remark, I was pleased to see that the boxes appeared to have no damage on them during shipping, as was a common complaint when I was reading about a lot of these aluminum framed greenhouses. So we'll see how the frame did in here. Several pieces. See, I see right there, there's a you can see where this frame was stuck into the box right here. There's a very slight, I mean that's so minimal, there, boom, I just fixed it right there. Okay, so let me go over these instructions and see what we need to do. Okay, here's what it looks like inside the box. Here are the polycarbonate panels. Here's my plan. It's mid-December. It's cold. It's been very rainy the past few days. It gets dark early. So I'm going to assemble the greenhouse in here in the garage where I have a nice, clean, level work surface, controlled environment, and good lighting. Then I have a plan to move it from in here outside to the platform that I've built for it. And speaking of the platform, here's a quick look at that. And with that, I want to call the deck done. It's time now to start assembling the greenhouse kit. And I will address these two front posts after we get the greenhouse in position. So it looks like my next step needs to be to take all of the frame pieces out of the box, spread them out, bounce them off of this list and make sure that I have all the pieces, then separate them by type, and then I can start the assembly process. And unless there's something that I think you need to see specifically, I'm just going to run a time lapse on this. So here we go. Well, there's the assembly of the greenhouse. And really, it was not too bad. In fact, it may have even been a little bit easier than I expected. It took me about 6.5 hours to do it completely by myself, and I didn't do it all in one day. The key is to just take your time and follow the instructions. I really didn't have any trouble anywhere. The door was a little bit fussy just because there are several parts you're trying to get together at the same time, and it would have been helpful to have a second set of hands to hold things together while getting screws started. I was thankful that there was really no damage to any part of the aluminum frame. I had about 2 little flanges that were very slightly bent, but they're easy to fix. Here are the tools that are included with the greenhouse. Now, they will work. This wrench worked well enough, and you don't need it very often. But this little Allen wrench here was a very loose fit into these screws, and if you weren't very careful, it would strip pretty easily. So I got my own Allen wrenches and found one that was a better fit, still a little bit loose, but it worked much better than the one that was included with the greenhouse. And this screwdriver on the end of this wrench, while it will work, just do yourself a favor and get a full-size screwdriver. You may have noticed me occasionally using my drill. I did this by taking an Allen wrench, hitting it with a propane torch, and then straightening it in a vise. Now, if you choose to do this, do not fully tighten the screws with the drill. It is far too powerful, and it will strip out the screw heads even if you set your clutch to the lowest setting. Always finish tightening by hand. The instructions tell you, and they also mention this on their website, to seal the panels to the frame with silicone sealant. Now, I wasn't real enthused about having to do that because using a caulking gun is not one of my favorite things, and I'm not really very good at it. But after I got going, I kind of got into a rhythm and developed a technique, and it really wasn't bad at all. I spent maybe 2 hours doing it, and it took about 2.5 tubes of silicone to do it. But after applying the silicone, it made a huge difference. The whole thing was now much more stable because basically the panels are now glued to the frame. The whole thing just felt more solid. So I strongly recommend doing that. I watched some other videos about this particular brand of greenhouse, and they mention leaking, especially here where water runs off the roof along the side, and you could see where it could get into the top of these panels if they weren't sealed. And especially back here at this place where these bolt heads hold the panel out a little bit, water would run right behind this panel into the greenhouse. So to seal this whole section off, I decided to cover the whole thing with this water sealant Gorilla Tape. I rounded the corners to make them more durable and less likely to peel up. Now, forget trying to cut this with scissors. This adhesive is so thick and sticky, it just gets all in the scissors. Your best bet is to use a sharp X-Acto knife. This Gorilla Tape comes in 10-foot rolls, so that way I was able to cover the entire side without having any seams. I taped a string up there to use as a guideline because this stuff is super sticky. You don't really get a second chance. So take your time and work carefully because once you seal it down, it's stuck. Now remember, this whole thing only weighs about 90 pounds. So it has to be anchored down in some way. Here's what I did. I drilled through the frame along the base, and I'm going to attach these brackets made by Simpson Strong Tie with these 1/4-inch hex bolts. These brackets are designed for use in deck construction, and they're very heavy duty. I did have to drill a hole for my 1/4-inch hex bolt. Then I'll screw these to my platform with construction screws. I also got a wire rope kit, some eye bolts, and a turnbuckle to go over the frame of the greenhouse at the back. Before I could move it outside, I had to do one more thing to the platform and cut those front posts off at the same height. out of 2x4s, I built this, I'm going to call it a skid frame that the house can sit on, and I can anchor it with those brackets to the frame, as well as I'm going to add some cross members to help keep the frame square so that the house doesn't get racked out of square while I'm moving it. Okay, here's how the move went. So once I got it in place on the platform, all I had to do was remove the skid frame, center it up, then I could screw down the anchor brackets. It feels really secure. With all these brackets along the bottom of the frame, I think it's anchored very well. The front frame is secured by 3-inch screws into these posts, and it is really solid. For the back, I'm going to tie that down with that cable and eye bolt. I temporarily put the eye bolts in place so I could get an accurate measurement on where to cut the cable. Using the turnbuckle, it was easy to adjust the tension. I wanted it tight, but not too tight. Remember, we're dealing with an aluminum frame and plastic joints here. I bought this at Home Depot and it was $376 before taxes, and this is in November of 2024. Then the extra things which I think are necessary, the silicone and the tape and the anchoring hardware, all that added up to about another $120. So that's the Veikous 6x8 foot greenhouse. This was a good project, and I think this is decent quality for what you're paying, especially after you do the modifications, and I'm very satisfied with it. If you found this information helpful, be sure and hit the like button. That tells YouTube to recommend it to more viewers. And if this is the type of content that you like, you might consider subscribing to my channel. But in any case, I thank you for watching, and I hope that you'll be back soon for another video.